All right, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to get started here. So let's grab the bias chart and let's get started with this morning's analysis. So let's go over to the euro dollar. So here's the euro, and the euro keeps rallying towards this. Once again, we got as high as 106.60. 106.66. Didn't we write down resistance yesterday at 106.60? 65? What did we put down as resistance yesterday? What do you guys remember? Do you guys have a bias chart in front of you? What do we write down as resistance? 106.65? We did. All right, Carlton, thank you. So the overnight high was 106.66. Well, we were off by 1 pip. Not too bad. 65 and then 107, right? 107, just in case we pop through that. So in case we pop through that, we got to look at the top of the zone. I did not short the euro dollar overnight as much as I wanted to. I didn't. I was hoping for a move up towards 107. Didn't get it. Now support at this point is going to be back down here at 105.60 because you can see this has supported us pretty well. Ouch, that hurts. I'm going to write down 105.65. 65, okay. It is in a bearish trend, all right, as you all know. All right, let's go over to the cable and try to kind of go a little quicker through the analysis today, just with the ADP coming up. So here's the pound, big rejection again overnight around 125. I'm assuming the financial stability report's what really sank the cable, but as you guys know here, 125.25 is resistance. Even yesterday, I think we wrote down 125.25. We went to 125.25 and 0.2 of a pip. So big resistance support at 124. So I think you gotta let the cable do what it's gonna do. 124, 125.25 is resistance, and we are in a range, tightening in the range as well. Let's go over to the Swissy. So the Swissy's been actually performing quite well today. So the Swissy probably didn't draw this correctly, in retrospect because of the failure up here. So, and I don't know if that's really going to be too supportive. Let me just look at something here. Okay, so looking at the dollar Swiss, we're obviously wedging at this point. It looks like that we're wedging higher. So so support is 101. Support is going to be a 101.10 right now. That's going to be pretty key for bulls, in my opinion. 101.10. And then resistance is at 109. 109.90. And again, we're wedging higher. It's bullish. Okay. Let's take a look at the dollar yen. So the dollar yen is attempting to break higher. Dollar yen's really strong at the moment. Now, the dollar yen just cleared all this resistance. Let's see here. Let's see if we've got, what do we got that little ABCD really held us yesterday, but today, you know, because yesterday, I remember on the morning edge, we tweeted that, and then it came under pressure. Yeah, I think it's possible that we tag 114. Let me see, because I'm missing a little bit of data here from over the Thanksgiving holiday, so let me just double check something. So we've been as high as 113.90. Let's go over to, so we're trying to break higher out of that. So that's support. So, I mean, we could very easily, we can very easily tag these highs again, right through here. So I'm going to write down 113.90, and then support is going to be 112. By the time we get here, it's about 112.30. 112.30, 113.90, and it's still bullish. Now, one of the things, hey, just in case you weren't looking, I forgot this happened while we were on break, but I want you to look at this. Just in case you're buying the dollar yen right now, if you look at the ZBs here, we had an hourly, you know, we were having an hourly sell-off. We came right to support, bounced. Now we still have 20 minutes left in this candle, but if we close at the highs of this candle, that's gonna be a heck of a hammer off of some support. So that support is so critical. If you don't understand where that yellow line comes from, that was a support. Well, it was current resistance or resistance back in 2012, and so that's why that yellow line is there. So I guess what's pretty important is if we come back down here to that yellow line again and we tag it and bounce just like we have been the last couple of days, then it tells us there's a little bit of a bid underneath the market in the bond market, which would suggest that the dollar yen is going to have a little bit tough time rallying further. So just a little heads up there, just since we were going over the yen, you got to be careful as it's moving up towards that resistance. All right, let's go over to the Canadian. Here's the dollar Canadian. So again, looking at the Canadian here, we are on channel support, what I think is channel support. Okay. Now remember, as I said earlier, I'm surprised the dollar Canadian isn't. I'm surprised the dollar Canadian isn't lower because of this move in crude. I mean, I would think that the dollar Canadian would already be testing in this 133 level, but 133 is still possible. All right, that is that was the big resistance here. Let's see, that resistance high was 133.06. I still think it's doable, and I have to write it down. Not actually, we'll write down two prices. Channel support is at, let's just call it 133.50. So we have 133 and 133. The reason why I'm going to write down 133 is because, look, OPEC is looking to put together a deal of production cuts. Now, the expectations are already 1.4 million barrels a day. So if it comes in maybe a little bit better than expected, we could see 133. But if it doesn't come in as good as well as expected or as high as expected, maybe the dollar Canadian bounces. So from maybe this 133.50 level. So it's all about OPEC, and it's all about the news that comes out later. So it doesn't have anything else to do with that. All right, now resistance at this point is 134. Okay. If we take out 134, we are going to start squeezing in the Canadian. So I think 134 is the level. And remember, it's still bullish. While we're above 133, it's still bullish. Okay. While we're above this yellow line, it's still bullish. We're just, coming into some support. Surprisingly, especially with, such a big move in crude. Gold's under some pressure right now, FYI. Okay. That's not gonna do wonders for dollar bears at the moment. With gold's breaking lower right now. Is gold on its lows of the day? It is. All right. What was I doing? That was the Canadian. Kiwi. All right. New Zealand dollar. So the New Zealand dollar, where is it? There it is. So we came to that 71.40 over in Asia. We shot past it, but notice what we stopped at. We stopped at this channel, the underside of the channel low, right? This trend line right here, or the underside of this trend line. So we challenged it and reversed. Now, the Kiwi is already on its lows of the session. I'm going to write down 71.70 as resistance today. Key. Because if we can get above that, then the Kiwi is going to turn bullish. But while we're below 71.70, or it's going to go back to a range environment. While it's below 71.70, it's still bearish. All right. Now, the Kiwi looks like it is reversing. Below 71 cents is where support's going to be. Okay. Or excuse me, 71 cents is where support is going to be, I would say. If it breaks below 71 cents, there's going to be some selling picking up in the Kiwi. I'm going to write that an asterisk there because I think that's support. It's still bearish. I know we've had a little bit of a recovery, but it's still bearish. Okay. Let's go over to the Aussie. Now the Aussie, real big rejection at the 75-cent level. Now take a look at this, just so you guys are watching. We've been following this hourly or 4-hour channel higher right into previous support, current resistance, 38% retracement. 75 cents is still key. I'm starting to think that was our last look at 75 cents before rolling over. If we break through, let's just go ahead and write down this. If we break through, damn, that hurts my finger, son of a gun. Okay, we break through 74.30. The Aussie is the bearish 74.30. I think the bearishness is going to pick up in the Aussie. Now remember, we do have ADP. We do. All right, I'm going to do the dollar index really quick as well. Okay, so here's the dollar index. Now, we drew the potential of a head and shoulder pattern yesterday. Okay, let's get rid of this. 100.55 or 100.50 rather is major support, any which way you slice it. Major support. Look at crude oil. OPEC ministers say deal closes, meeting on oil cuts begin. Oh, crude spiked down. The dollar Canadian spiked up. Whoa. You're going to watch this Canadian, man. It might squeeze a little. Okay. Anyway, here's the thing about the dollar. You think the dollar's toast? If you think the dollar's finished, I'm going to tell you where you're wrong. You're wrong above 101.50. That's where you're wrong. Okay? Because it's bullish. And just because it's got a head and shoulder setup doesn't mean it's going to play out. Far from it. Okay? We could just be setting up for another leg higher. Remember, we are in multi-year breakout territory. Dollar bears. Those of you that are dollar bears, just keep that in mind. All right. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. So what happened with the pound? Like, what happened here? Did I just miss something? Pound just ripped up. I sure as hell wouldn't want to chase it up here, but man, that was a strong rally. I think while we're in this apex here of this this triangle or this wedge, it's going to start getting really choppy. As we tighten up. It's probably what it is. Anyway, okay, so let's, where were we at? Let's go over to the US dollar Mexican peso. Here's the peso, and the peso is still within our ranges. And right now, as we wrote down this yesterday, I think 250. Maybe we wrote down 230, but we'll just pay attention to 250 to 270 or 2075. So 2050, 2075, and obviously if we break below if we break below 2050, then we're going to be looking towards that 2030 level. Keep in mind that this peso is really starting to tighten up here. I think a break below 2050 might actually trigger some selling, maybe take us down towards 20, and break below 20 would be obviously very bearish. I think we need to follow kind of what's happening in the crude oil market too, because if that it's interesting, the crude oil market strengthening the way that it didn't weaken the dollar peso more. Same thing with the dollar Canadian, Anyway, okay, where are we at? Let's go over to the US dollar Swedish Krona and Norwegian Krona. So here's the Norwegian Krona. Norwegian Krona came down to basically support. We wrote down yesterday 848. So this is the trend line that we had been monitoring, right? Here, let's actually have to go back out to the daily to get this. Okay. So if you take the, the peak here, peak there, we're basically, for all intents and purposes, tagging that, here, let's get rid of this for right now. I don't want you to pay attention to that, although we did reject at the 618. But you can see how we are tagging basically the trend line. Now, typically I'd go long here on something like this. I'd be a buyer here, but with all the OPEC news, I'm a little nervous about trying to get long the US dollar and Norwegian Krona at this point. But typically that's what I would do. Now, considering this is this pair is going to be driven a lot by this news out of OPEC, and we just hit 127% extension, didn't we? So 845. I'm just going to write down 845 as support right now. Resistance. It's just not getting a lot of oomph in the Norwegian krona based on this OPEC news, is it? Surprisingly. If we can get a move back above 850, that might squeeze, but I'm not going to take that into account right at this point in time. Okay. Just want to make sure that that spike was real. So from here to here, $8.56. Is resistance. It's still bullish. It really is. US dollar, Swedish krona. $38 retracement is holding, and that comes in at 914. And we're holding right now. Kind of like the Norwegian krona here. Resistance will be any move back up to 922. And it's still bullish. Okay. All right, guys. We have ADP coming out in just a few minutes.